Hello, 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 and welcome to the Kevin Ross Emery Show with.
Going both ways today with Ashley Olstein. So good to see you today.
I go both ways every day. It all depends on the screen lineup, whether you're to my right,
Yeah.
whether you're to my left, whether you're above me, whether you're below me. So I'm just like, blah.
Yep, all around.
It's like the road to Oz. Some people go that way, and some people go that way.
How was your week?
Um, you know, I'm really excited. I had a project that died on the vine 12 years ago, and it's in resuscitation mode.
Ah, that's exciting.
Yeah, well, back in 2012, I created by hand literally all of the stuff to hand to an app developer to develop an app where people would answer a few questions about their child. It's like 12 questions. They answer the question about their child, their ADD, ADHD child, and they become a shade on the Dr. Kevin rainbow. And there's 64 different shades. And they get, and then they would get an initial little free report with a few pages. And if they wanted the full report, it was like 25 to 26 pages of information about how to manage your ADD child's shade, like how to get them to do homework and learn and all of these different and manage emotional issues. And so I created it all by hand. I had an app developer develop it. It was on Apple for 1 week. Like we were just doing a trial, like run. We got it on Apple. The Apple changed something and it went off. And I went back to my app developer, who I spent a ton of money with to get this app. And he'd gone out of business and there was nobody to update it. And it never saw the light of day again. And so it's been in my CAW for 12 years that I put in all this information. I have all this information to share with the world. And so in the last week, it showed up and I have two different people that I'm deciding between and what I want. And so I'm going to ask you this question. So I'm actually having a chance to create it. I can do an app or I can do a PWA or I could do both, which is a website that can look like an app and go on the phone like an app, but it's not an app, it's a website.
Okay.
Or I can I can own and put all the information on my own AI bubble. And people would be able to come in, take the quiz, they could still buy the report. But based on all of the stuff that I've written and done about ADD since 2000, I would have loaded in there so they could ask questions and get answers based on all my writings and based on all my stuff. And the guy just suggested it this morning, and I mean, my hair's still standing on end. It just got
It is
clear bomb in this meeting out of nowhere. So that's up with me. I got, obviously lots of clients, lots of stuff. Did my first meeting at the chamber last night as an ambassador instead of a regular chamber member.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm, means that I have to be nice to everybody.
Well, then we also have to refer to you as Ambassador Kevin Ross Emery.
But anyway, so lots of exciting times. There's a lot of exciting energies. What's up with you before I jump into the astrology for the week?
Well, I'm ready to jump into the astrology because today was a weird day. It was like, I don't even know. I felt as though the words that were coming out of my mind and my mouth weren't necessarily what others heard. And it kind of was consistent through the day. And I felt like I was living in this like altered space where I was feeling fine, but I felt like there was a lot of agita around me, a lot of yucky energy. And I really just wanted to go be alone. I didn't really get that choice, but that was what I wanted to do. So, yeah.
Well, there's only a couple of things that are actually going on above the regular stuff. We still have the sun in Aries, and it's going to stay there for a little, Taurus was going to stay there for a little while longer. It's, so we're not going to be moving into Gemini until next week. But this week, coming in, and it would have been coming in yesterday into today, the sun is coming up to conjunct with Uranus.
Oh, you touched on this last week, I think.
It's coming up, and as it's coming up, it's coming into full conjunction. But for you, when the sun and the Uranus conjunct, and you got to remember, there's a day where they're just literally on top of each other. They're frickin' frack. They're Velcro to the hip for a brief period of time. But for 5 degrees before that and 5 degrees after it, you're going to feel the buildup, and we're in the buildup phase. Then you're going to get the jackpot phase. And then it's going to kind of wind down. But I look at all of that time from like yesterday to not this Sunday, but the Sunday afterwards, like Sunday 19th. This is the window. Huh?
This is a long one.
Yes. Well, again, the sun is coming up and Uranus moves slowly, but the sun's coming up. And so it's chasing Uranus. Uranus is going away, but the sun's catching up. Boop, and then takes off.
Yeah.
But this is a time for a lot of like explosive energy, but not necessarily in a bad way. But we're just coming into this. And, Uranus is about freedom and unpredictability and the unexpected. And the sun is kind of bringing this energy up. And in your case, it is bringing it up into
House of Partnerships. The 8th house. Okay.
House.
Usually it's the 7th, but okay, the 8th house this time.
Ninth
house.
I
hear you.
It crosses into your 9th house. So Uranus is a planet of freedom. Your 9th house is about like challenging institutions, higher education, making change, and so it's going to be a time where you're going to really have a push to want to challenge the traditional ways of doing things, and you're going to do them differently or find a new way to organize it or do it or whatever. And that's because it's in your 9th house. And as I say to my listeners, as I always do, if you have your astrology chart, take it out. Find out where this sun in Taurus, where is it going to be hitting that Uranus in your chart, because where it hits in your chart is the area where it's going to be strongest. You're going to feel it, and it's going to depend on all sorts of underlying. But if you have your chart and you know how to read your chart and you've had your chart interpreted, you'll be able to take this and say, this is some powerful energy that I can work with. And as we always say, we are, I've called it this for years, for 2 decades now. I always call the astrology section planetary influences.
Yep.
It's the weather forecast. It tells you what the weather's going to be. It can be raining and you don't have to use an umbrella. You don't have to put on a raincoat. It can be snowing. You can go out in your Bermuda shorts and t-shirt. You can do that choice. But with the astrology, that's the weather. That's what's going on. You can prepare for it. You can work with it. It's not there to make your decisions. It's just there to give you more information so you can make better decisions. If for some reason, if you've never had your chart done and you would like to have your chart done and really understand this and be able to come to the show every week and kind of see how it affects you, you can email me at info@kevinrossemery.com or kevin@kevinrossemery.com and set up an astrology, and then come back here every week. Or if you can't do it live, we have it on every podcast place in the world, and we have it on the Facebook page. And you can say, what's the weather forecast? And you're going to know how to apply it, because when I do astrology, and I've done, Ashley, your astrology, I'm teaching astrology through your chart, so you can apply it. So, and like for me, it has a very different energy And this is actually coming into my 7th house. So it's the energy is going to be very unpredictable. And I think it's interesting that I'm trying to create partnerships right now to take
yeah.
care of this. I called it the app, but it could be the AI bubble. It might be a PWA, but I'm creating some new different ways of looking at it and some new partnerships. So it's a perfect time to do this. And of course, Uranus is oftentimes associated with the internet, with electricity, with, this type of stuff. So it's a perfect time in this energy for me to pull this together and put it forward. And I knew this was coming, and I set the appointment up for the meeting this morning. That's using astrology to take advantage of your best weather.
Yep. You packed your umbrella.
Well, actually, I just put on my sunscreen.
Yes, exactly.
A rainy day. The only other thing that's really going on this week, as far as a change or things to be aware of, there was one other thing, and it's going to be Mercury is going to be moving into Taurus, and it's going to move into Taurus next Wednesday, the 15th. So we're going to be moving in. The Mercury is moving into Taurus just before the sun does, just as the sun is moving out of Taurus and going towards Gemini. With this Mercury in Taurus, now this is going to hit this is definitely going to be hitting your 8th house. So, but it's about practical communication. It's about you're communicating with a purpose. You're communicating with a logic. And you're communicating in a way to place yourself about things that could create your financial security, strengthen your home. I mean, so you're going to have very practical communications while Mercury is in Taurus. Again, in your 8th house, as we always joke about it, the house of, death and taxes, transformation, transmutation, this, and it's other people's money. So having Mercury in Taurus in that 8th house means you might be making some business deals. You might be renegotiating some things. You may be doing something with your own self-worth and value and being able to ask for it. This is a good time to do that.
I like it. You said that was on the 15th?
That is May 15th. It happens just before our next show. That's where it gets you. Again, to our viewers, if you want to know more about how it hits you, then you need to know more about where your chart is. Now, on that note, I think we are ready to bring in tonight's guest. So I'm going to go ahead and tickle the bottom, bring her to the stage, and let Ashley introduce her.
All right. This is Amber McMahon. She's the owner and operator of Karma Queen Reiki and Guidance. Amber's a Reiki master teacher, spiritual psychic medium, spiritual energy healer, an advanced IET practitioner, intuitive spiritual guidance coach and counselor, and a psychotherapist in Arlington, Massachusetts. And she offers in-person and distant healing sessions, spiritual intuitive guidance, mediumship, multidimensional healing sessions with angel messages, all kinds of stuff. And she's a Reiki teacher of all levels. And I'm sure she'd love to say a little more about that too. So hi, Amber.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So did you pick up anything from the astrology for the upcoming astrology you could apply?
Oh, absolutely. It's been an interesting few months for sure. So look forward to that practical communication next week.
Yeah, the communication before that was more about fulfilling personal needs and being up into the eye.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah. Yep. And could be a little fiery.
Yeah.
you're not listening to me. I can't listen to you because you're so busy talking about nothing. I can't hear anything of value. Those kind of changes.
Yeah.
What are you in my house today?
um, so, Amber, so when you are a licensed psychotherapist, yes?
I am. Yep. For the state of
Mental health counselor. Okay.
Yep.
I'm seeing the thing. And you can see at the bottom her website if you want to know more about what she does. Where did Reiki come in your life versus being a nutcracker?
So, I mean, I have a background in law enforcement, and I have a background in working with acute children, families, adolescents, doing crisis management and in-home therapy work. That was my past. In as a kid, I could always feel certain energies. I'm definitely attuned to energies in the room and around people. It was really in, 2014 where I got the push to start looking to get certified in Reiki 1 and 2. And that's when I got introduced to Libby Barnett, and did my Reiki 1 and 2. And I had already had an office space set up to do that, right, as I got my certification. So that's really when that took off. And I, never in a million years did I ever think I'd have this practice or business. And here I am doing all these things. So Reiki is, it was 2014. That's when I went off and running with that, and then became a Reiki master in 2017. But before that, I was, always interested in the archangels and was attuned to the archangels. And then also in 2017, that's when I did my integrative energy therapy certifications. And I've been a licensed therapist since 2015. So here we are. But Reiki is the foundation of everything I do. So it's the foundation of all my multidimensional healing sessions and everything I do in my practice and my business.
Do you find that with your psychotherapy end of the business, do you dovetail them together, or do you try and?
It's the foundation of what I do. It's for everything I do in life and practice. But
yeah,
they're
everything.
They're two separate businesses, and two things. But it always comes in. And of course, you have some clients that have that, spiritual knowledge, or they want to learn about it. But a lot of the time, therapy clients are finding me on Psychology Today, and then the metaphysical find me, on my website or Google or word of mouth. And sometimes those can overlap at times, but for the most part, it's two separate businesses.
It's interesting because, I have several verticals I have 4 verticals in my business. And when people, I mean, like, do you have a website at all for your mental health business, or do you just have the Karma
So
Queen?
it's all on Psychology Today, which is the place you find therapists, but on my website, it does list that I'm a psychotherapist, and there's the link that you can find me on. I think all of these sort of overlap. This is who I am. So I am an intuitive. So when I'm doing any work that I'm doing, that soul inner knowing comes into play. You can't hide that.
You can't turn it off.
But
It's part of
you don't
you. Yeah.
turn off, right? So you're using your clinical knowledge, but you have intuition also.
Mhm. Yeah, I would think that would make you a more empathetic and connected therapist, because you can't turn that off. It's part of who
Yeah.
you are.
I mean, obviously have your intuitive spiritual, those boundaries, but yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And I'm one of those therapists, I tell it like it is. I don't sugarcoat it. I've always been outside of the box in everything I do. So,
Yeah. It's because I know that you didn't see this back in the day when I started my business. I mean,
oh, no.
I've had my spiritual business for 34 years now.
Yeah.
So like when I say back in the day, psychotherapists were over here,
Right.
Yeah.
people were over here, you know, this,
Mhm.
you know,
Yep.
and we, I'm always saying psychic, psychotic, fine. Uh, but now I see, I actually have a practice, a social work kind of practice, who's bringing me in to do a lunch and learn with them because they want to know who to send their clients to that do spiritual work.
And
As
you're seeing more of this.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
have a lot of individuals who are, you know, doctors and they are looking for individuals like me or you that they can refer to for that energetic
yep,
piece. There's always an energetic reason for things.
yep. And so I noticed recently that I was looking through a description of the thing, and there was like, licensed psychotherapist, LMHC, or drug and alcohol
Yeah.
whatever. But they would say holistic approach,
Right.
Mhm.
spirituality,
Right.
like right in
Oh yeah.
their thing. And of course, I never got, as far as from a degree program, I never got beyond a bachelor's in psychology. I never went through the licensing. I'm not in that league, but I had the psychology underpinnings when
Mhm.
I started my spiritual
Yeah.
practice.
Right.
So I kind of came at it from the other side. Like
Right.
I was a woo-woo wacko first.
And then added the hard on top, the hard medicine. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Uh,
A
go ahead.
lot of people who are mental health counselors, psychotherapists, they also have this other piece. They might not know it, but I remember going to, counseling psych is my second master's. My first one is in criminal justice. So when I was in grad school with the counseling psych individuals, we all had this kind of common theme of the intuitive psychic ability or the healing ability. So yeah, that's why like on my psychology today, it's holistic approach to treatment. And then people get interested and then they find my other website. So
Can I switch a little bit? I'm dying to know how you came up with your Karma Queen name. I love it.
honestly, it just came to me. When I was thinking about starting a business, it was brainstorming and in a meditation, in a vision, it just that came. And from there, it evolved into all my, the website, the business, all my uh on my website, all my marketing photos and stuff, all of the logo, everything that was done with an intuitive individual in Australia. And it was all about just the journey. Everything has a meaning for me. Every picture, every logo. And it came from meditative journeys and this intuitive journey with this individual. But the name of the business, Karma Queen Reiki and Guidance, you know, obviously the Reiki, the healing piece, Reiki is a big piece of who I am. The karma part, you know, I was brought up on like what goes around comes around. And really what goes around comes around. So we want to become and align with the best version of ourselves and the best version of who we can be, because align with the positive, you'll get the positive. If you do the negative, I mean, you'll get the negative. What you do comes back tenfold in this lifetime or in others. So it's all about the journey. So that's where the name came from. And here we are. I never thought of changing it. It just, there was a reason, and it's, evolved with my business.
It's funny because I used to do work with people that, I do respite with families that had somebody with, like disabilities, that give the family a break, and
Mm-hmm.
out in, this was the 80s, and
Wow.
take stuff like this. And I always remember having that very intense conversation with this young man who I just adored. And besides all of the issues he was born with, he just kept on doing things. Things kept on happening to him that weren't his fault, that even took away what little he had.
Right.
And he would talk, and he just said to me, he goes, "It's not fair. It's not fair." And I always remember saying to him, if anybody told you life was fair, they lied. Life is not fair, but it's just. And you may get, and some days you get to be justice.
Yeah.
But other days you figure out the justice may take 2 or 3 lifetimes before it shows up.
Right.
So you just have to say, don't go into saying life should be fair. It's not going to be. And that actually found him some peace. But that was before it was before I started my practice. That was just like, yep, let's just be real here.
Right.
We come back more than once for a reason.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. It all evens out.
Now, you studied if you studied with Libby Barnett, and she, as far as I know, I haven't seen Libby for years. But she was she was into the very traditional Usui Reiki.
Yes. It's the Usui lineage, the traditional Reiki, and it's hands-on.
Yeah.
There's some Reiki, it's not hands-on, but yes, I was trained hands-on, and with Libby Barnett, she's like the real OG here. So I like to call her.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious on this journey. Because I got my Reiki mastership through the Usui lineage in 92.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was Reiki master teacher, and I taught that. And I was always very like, this is this, and this is what you teach. And of course, that was around the time that you had the Diane Stein book coming out. There was an explosion of what I always called renegade Reiki. And then I got dragged into my own. In this journey, have you ever gone into any of the other kind of Reikis, or has the Usui Reiki really been your?
That's my lineage. That's my lineage for Reiki. That's what I practice. That's what I teach. So, obviously, as certain, so now you have all these other different forms of Reiki. People build off of that, right? So, but this is the original and the one that I was trained, and that's my lineage. So that's what I teach and do. I'm not sure of the other ones, and I'm not opposed to learning about. I have several friends, colleagues, they've done Holy Fire, and that's for them, so.
Yeah, I'm a Holy Fire Reiki master, also in Karuna, Lightarian, and some other different ones that I'm trying to make a melting pot of it instead of just
right.
But I love it. Love it.
Yeah. Hey, not all about one specific, it's good to
Yeah.
be all of them, but
It's not one size fits all. It's whatever works,
for sure,
speaks to you, for sure.
whatever speaks to you, whatever you are guided to. And, that goes for the same for individuals that are looking for teachers, practitioners, healers. It's like you will be guided to the right individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting journey. And in '95, I wrote a book called The Lost Steps of Reiki, and I traveled around the country and taught it. And then eventually, when I evolved a healing system out of it, I got rid of the Reiki name
Mm.
because I was like, I just call it Wei Chi Healing now. But part of that was, why are you calling? I mean, like, there is a Usui Reiki. It was
Mhm.
a traditional,
Mhm.
and you can decide that you want to do something else.
Yeah.
But I kind of always struggle a little bit with because the other thing is, at least in the Usui traditional, there was certain absolute check boxes you had to do and steps you had to go through. And some of these crazy Reikis I've run across
Mhm.
are, oh, I'm going to attune 300 people in a crowd and tell you to
Right.
go forth and all of this stuff. And
Yeah.
it really, I stopped using the word Reiki. One of the reasons was because there were so many nutcases that were denigrating it.
Right.
And
Yeah. There's those people out there too,
yeah, and the
Mhm.
system kind of comes in around. But I had got all my information as channeled information from a shaman that had lived 5,000 years ago in Tibet about an older system, and what we saw as Reiki was kind of brought into the modern day mentality, so to speak. But with Usui. So I was interested. I'm always interested of who kind of stays on the path, and then who at some point
Yeah.
gets the Reiki tingle and just needs to, like, I mean,
Right. I mean, this is why I've learned other forms of healing modalities as well. And
Oh, yeah, the IET you said.
yeah,
So
and like,
that's angelic, right?
so yeah, it is integrative energy therapy. It's angelic. There's an attunement in that process also when you get certified. But I was always doing that anyways. I mean, this is where in IET you are pulling out past trauma issues essentially from the tissues, right? So we hold distrust at our third eye in our forehead. So I'm able to release that from physical, mental, emotional past life and then re-imprint it with trust. So with the positive. But I was pulling stuff out of individuals on my table way before that. And then I did this and I was like, oh, I've already been doing that. Now there's a name for it. So, this is why I combine all of my modalities. There is
Mhm.
not one thing. I found the best way for transformation, change, and healing on this journey was to combine all my modalities in a session.
yeah, again, I have lost. I lost, as I became a non-entity once I started channeling Wei Chi, and I wrote The Lost Steps of Reiki. A lot of the very traditional Usui people would have nothing to do with me. That's how it was back then. I mean, I don't
Right.
know if it's still like that now, but
The traditions, the history is the same, but like
Mhm.
this is why I teach it one-on-one, and it's an individualized experience. So
I'm surprised when you say you kind of put it in a, I mean, I literally would hear stories going across the country in the mid '90s of, like, I was trying to learn Reiki, and I was thrown out of the class, and I had to come back because I spent more than 3 minutes on a hand position.
oh
I'm
god,
like,
oh, that's
crazy.
very strict. That's like
Yeah.
yeah,
In the early to mid '90s, let me tell you, there was no
right.
laughing matter
No,
Mhm.
what it was.
you're
And I
right.
don't know if
Not
that changed or not, but
It's definitely, it's changed, right? Because, you have Libby Barnett, and she was trained by John Harvey Gray, who is very respected, right? But then you have Libby, who then trained me and thousands of other Reiki masters, and we are who we are, and we bring our own individual things to what we do.
and they allow that now, because it used to be that they wouldn't. I mean, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no, I mean, they allow. My belief is, as long as you are teaching the fundamentals and the history, I'm not so far off from that, but my Reiki materials is my stuff, my branding. I add in my individual spiritual knowledge too,
Yeah.
and I
Mhm.
might be the same as someone else down the street who is a Reiki master teaching it. Some people would look at me and say, well, how can you teach Reiki 1 and 2 in one day? Or how can you teach Reiki 1 in 4 hours? It's not hard. It's very simple. This is a tool that is life-changing and transformational, and it's not hard.
Yeah.
So there doesn't need to be a 6-week long program, or it's very simple. I keep it simple.
Yeah. I haven't, I mean, I was asked when I was doing some teaching in Europe, and I had this little group. And it's funny, I found those groups in the United States when I was traveling around, where the Reiki master teacher would keep a little group hostage and keep on coming up with another level, so they wouldn't have to give them their Reiki master and teachers. So there wouldn't be competition. And I was in Geneva for 6 weeks, and one of the things that brought me was my Lost Reiki book, and they brought me over to teach the Wei Chi healing there. But they said, "You're our traditional Reiki master," and I said, "Yeah, I am." They said, "So you could make us a Reiki teacher?" I'm like, "Yep, did it before. I actually had to do it in New Orleans once, for the same reason. There was only one master teacher, and they didn't want any other master teachers."
Oh, gee, God. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I said, "Yep, I will." But I'm going to tell you, if I'm going to teach you Usui, I have my Usui book. I
Right.
teach exactly what I learned. I don't add anything
Right.
to it, because it's Usui.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
play with all the other stuff, but it's like, because that's what you need to do. And I asked them, I asked everybody who, there was a little group that wanted me to do Reiki master teacher for them. And I asked them 10 questions that I felt they should know if they felt like they are ready to be a Reiki master teacher.
Right.
Everybody flunked.
Hmm.
Nobody could answer. They couldn't talk about the original, the miracles, and they couldn't talk about, it's about this. And I was like, okay, so I have to go back and teach you a separate class to bring you up here, because I'm not going to sign a certificate and have you not know what you're
Right.
doing.
And I think, what we put our name on, that's important, right? So for me, like so if I were to attempt someone to become a Reiki master, that program looks totally different probably than from anyone else's, because that individual is someone that I have done Reiki 1 with, Reiki 2 with. They are most likely an ongoing client in some way, shape, or form for healing. And they have been doing this work on their own, or, and practicing on others, or in business. But that is, Reiki teaches us from within. So like, they're becoming that Reiki master by incorporating this into their life every day. And they're showing that because they are using this, and they are working in it, and they are doing this. So the Reiki master certification, that looks very different for me than other Reiki masters, I'm sure. And that sacred ceremony to become a Reiki master, that's sacred. And I don't know what other Reiki masters do, and then I would do the attunement and get the certificate. But my Reiki master program, it's like, it's an ongoing relationship, and you are actively using it, doing this.
I understand that. That's how I feel about my medical intuitive teaching. I have to trust you because I think that medical intuitives are one of the biggest areas for potential abuse. Because if somebody's coming to you as a medical intuitive, they're usually very vulnerable. They have health issues
Right.
that, it's like, no, no, no. If you're going to learn medical intuitive for me, it's a process and it takes time. And I need to know you as a person and feel
Right.
like you have the integrity that I would ever want to be associated with.
Well,
Right.
that's how it should be, because you've got someone in a very vulnerable position and they're trusting in the words that you say. And if they're just, plucked from, no knowledge, then you're really affecting the soul of that person.
Mhm.
So talk to us before we run out of time about Ignite the Light. I put it out on the bottom and then was going to get to it, and conversations went a little sideways, but I just left it there. I know first Thursday of every month in Arlington, Mass, in person. You run this 6:30 to 8.
Yes.
So talk to about if somebody is in your area and wanted to ignite the light, what does that look like?
So Ignite the Light Within, I started this, oh my gosh, in like 2018. I basically, I'm going to run a group. We'll see if it works. I'll do it once or for a few months. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, okay. And here we are in 2024 and it's still running the first Thursday of every month. It's a spiritual journey, guided meditation. I do Reiki. I give individual and group guidance on how to use the energy of the month successfully. And I've been doing this. Sometimes I do it in Arlington side, so we can have some burning ceremonies. And otherwise, I am usually in a wonderful space in Concord at Healing Essence Center the first Thursday of the month. Anyone can email me. If I do a MailChimp promotion, so if you want to be added to my email, you can certainly email me. Clients, I have a private Facebook group that they're a part of, and it gets promoted there actually early. So they can sign up first, and then I send out the big mailing a week after that. Anyone is welcome. So just feel free to email me.
Amber, what was the place in Concord? Sorry to interrupt.
So Healing Essence Center, it's in West Concord. That's
very close to where I am.
Yeah. So Catherine Glass, who is a energy healer and one of my mentors, and Jonathan Glass, who is an acupuncturist and Ayurvedic specialist. That's their place.
Excellent. Thank you.
So I have two other questions for you before we run out of time. First of all, so what kind of size group does it usually? I mean, like usually there's a.
So anyone who is meant to be there will be there. I've had anywhere from 3 people to 14, 15 people. I have also, I do record this, and people will let me know if they want the recording, because I will do their guidance cards and all of that and send them healing during the group. So really, whoever is meant to be there for that group, they're meant to be there. So the numbers, it varies from 3 to 13 to the virtual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to move slightly out of small group, but it's really still a small, intimate group, I guess was what I was looking for. Yeah.
It is usually a small, intimate group. When they get bigger, obviously in January or before January. And then when I'm able to do them outside, you know, you could have the 13 or 10, but it's typically a small intimate group.
And when you say the energy for the month, how is that determined? Is it something you channel? Is it a card you draw? Do you base it on
So it's channeled, but it's also gathered from all different resources as well. It's also gathered from, you know, there's a theme in my office that starts coming up like 2 weeks before the month starts. There's a theme. So it's like all coming into this month, it's all about relationships and new beginnings and twin flame relationships and these like really intense connections that come out of nowhere. So, and the theme I'm in my office, it will be one client after the other, experiencing different but similar things.
So, Amber, we want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Reach out to Amber, the Karma Queen at Gmail. You can also find her at amberthekarmaqueen.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can find her at oh no, wait a minute, I just did that one. Sorry. There's too many. I wanted to do your Facebook. Oh, there we go. And on Facebook and Instagram at Amber the Karma Queen.
Yep.
Branding. I love the branding. I love the consistency because I still do like business consulting using business and spiritual combined. So I'm all about good branding. You got great branding.
Yeah, I didn't switch it over to Karma Queen Reiki and Guidance for my social media. I just kept it.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. So, but thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing. And you know, if something is coming up, you know, if you've got some big releases or big shifts, let us know and
They're coming, that's for sure. It works.
Yes.
And remember, Ignite the Light in Concord, the first Thursday of the month, 6:30 to 8. You can go to her website, you can email her, you can find out and see if this is something that you would like to do in person. And namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. Nice to meet you, Amber. Take care.
Nice to meet you. It was an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice.
Okay, so I'm trying to just, here we go. And there we go.
All right.
Getting her out of
the loop. And I can't control the banner. There you go. All right.
Okay, so we're going to, speaking of karma, I want to talk about, we have a spiritual, intuitive, interactive panel on karma, Sunday, May 19th, 2024, 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You're not joining us for that one, right?
You know, I wasn't planning on it. Let's put that as a 60-40 as a maybe. I might be able to make that one. I think the time changed from when we last talked about it, so I think that might work.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
You know, let us know. We'd love to have you. We always love to have you on a SIP panel. And
I know it's been a bit.
It's so funny because we had reached out to Amber, the Karma Queen, but the date didn't work for her because we were kind of sort of thinking, Amber, the Karma Queen.
Karma Queen.
Yeah, she should definitely be on the Karma Show, but unfortunately it didn't work on her schedule, though we may see Amber at some future SIPs. We have one in June on spiritual abuse, and we have one scheduled in July that's a reschedule from April, which is indignity. These are all free events, and you can go to the Facebook page That's New Hampshire Metaphysical Facebook page is still the name. And, like that Facebook page, and you'll see how to just watch it on the Facebook page. Join it, or if you want to, you can reach out to us and we can send you a link. But yeah, this is something we try to do for the community. So any thoughts, anything stand out to you about our guest tonight that you want to share?
It was nice to hear her talk about Yusui Reiki as opposed to Holy Fire Reiki, which is what I was trained in. And I think that's a little bit, a little spin-off version. And we do more of, rather than the attunements, it's called a placement. So it's a little bit different, a little, it'd be interesting to dive a little deeper into that.
Well, there was a very interesting thing that Wei Chi said. And, as a reminder, you can go to my website, or you can go to Amazon.com and find the book, The Lost Steps of Reiki. But in The Lost Steps of Reiki, when Wei Chi was channeling through me, and, and I also have, I have literally hundreds of hours of cassettes of channeling. You got to remember, I did channeling for 18, 19 years.
Yep.
Channeling a lot of different
8-track.
Huh?
I said it's on 8-track.
Not quite that bad, because you couldn't record on 8-track. We had to have that cassette player while I was there channeling. I do channeling evenings for 2.5 hours. I channel 5 different entities.
Beautiful.
Every now and then somebody's like, are you ever going to do an evening of channeling again? Maybe. I might. I'm sure all my old friends would like to show up. Actually, I did one just before the pandemic. I got this real hit. I was supposed to do one, and I had 2 new entities showing up. Hecate showed up, and Lilith.
Oh,
and
beautiful.
I never channeled either one of them. And then I had Ki the Extraterrestrial, Wei Chi, and I think Simon Peter. I'm not sure. That's actually, I think we videotaped that, and it's somewhere where people can, get it if they want. But back in the good old days, in the audio tape, back to attunements, you said they call them placements. Wei Chi said that the whole attunement process is to wake you up to the fact you've done it before.
Right.
To connect you with your past life energy of doing it. And so if you're drawn to something, when you get the attunement, it reconnects the memories of where it's been. And if you actually just do it on a lark or a whim or whatever, the attunement ain't going to do anything. And of course, that's not a very popular way that people like to look at it. Because some people, there was a time, and things have changed so much since I was like embroiled, so to speak, in Reiki, the Reiki community, the Usui, all of that stuff. I was actually flabbergasted when she said she interacts in the same session doing Usui, because, oh God, when I learned it, that never would have been allowed.
Yeah, it's very...
Do that session. And it's one of the reasons we ended up with all the renegade Reikis, because there was no flexibility. So I was gobsmacked when she said that. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not criticizing her. I was just gobsmacked because she came out of the, Libby Barnett, and Libby in the old days. Whoa, no. You're going to do it. This is what you do. That 3-minute and 30-second hand position just got you thrown out of class. Not that it was Libby that did it. I don't want to, I'm not trying to malign Libby. But that was definitely the energy of some of the Usui Reiki masters.
Yeah. Well, same with the Holy Fire. It's 3 minutes. Although I don't think they, chastise you if you go over, but the rule of thumb is 3 minutes.
Yeah. See, in the Wei Chi, you go, when the energy starts, when it stops, and when you've got the intuitive message for the client that they need to hear to achieve their goals. Because Wei Chi is all goal oriented. When you go into a Wei Chi treatment series, you're there with an idea of a goal you're trying to achieve in your life that you have worked with your practitioner to establish. And then it's a treatment series. And then you get intuitive messages and you get homework and you get this path.
Yep.
So it's like psychic meets spiritual counseling meets the Reiki energy. Reiki always to pronounce it Reiki.
Yeah.
I can still hear his voice in my head. Go ahead.
I'm still collecting all of my Reiki energies because I'm sticking a toe in every pond, really. I've done Lightarian Reiki, angelic Reiki. I've done the Holy Fire, Yusui, Karuna, Master Teacher. Like I've done all the things, and I'm still looking to pull them all together. So I'm interested in all kinds of healing.
Well, you know, you and I have had this conversation before. We'll have it on the show briefly. When I get 4 people that want to do the Wei Chi one, which is like sticking your toes in, I'll run it again. But at this point in my life, when something needs to happen, enough people show up that want it. I no longer run around and try to make things happen. I'm too old.
They'll come to you. If you build it, they will come.
But yeah, it's so funny. I remember there was a conversation once, and I'm trying to see if I can remember what it was, but it was about like one of these that has 500 different symbols or whatever. And Wei Chi just chuckled and was like, that just, it's interesting. Even in the traditional Yusui Reiki, there was an add-on after his time that did not exist in the original. And when he pointed it out, because at that point, I mean, I had to become a Reiki master first. That's a whole story we don't have time for. But at some other point, if you want to hear it, I'll tell you how I got goon into doing Yusui Reiki. But if you look, when he pointed it out and I looked at the symbols, you could look and go, oh yeah, that symbol is definitely different. Like it doesn't quite line up with the other ones. But until he pointed it out, I never noticed. I was like, who do we have next week?
Oh my God, I was told there'd be no math. Hold on. We have next week Tom Palladino.
Yep. Tom is coming on. He was on my old show once. And in fact, it led him to get a cover on a New Age magazine because of the interview he did on my show.
Oh, fun.
I had something that showed up that I couldn't do it, and I had to have a guest host that day. So I've never met him. I've never interacted with him.
Okay.
He was
Scalar Light. I was just looking at his bio. So DNA and Scalar Light and all kinds of lions and tigers and bears.
And I'll tell you who it was that interviewed him when it came in. Matt Connerton. I texted Matt and I said, Matt, I have an emergency. Can you possibly host my show tonight? And he's like, no problem. And he hopped in.
Perfect.
Ran the show, and then Tom got offered to be featured in a magazine because of it. And I was like, of course, the one show I can't
There are no mistakes. Oh,
no
well.
mistake.
Yep, that was for Matt that night. I love it.
So any last comments? We see Ashley. If you want to know more about Ashley, solstiveintuitivearts.com.
That is me.
And you can come to kevinrossemery.com. And remember, when you watch our show, if you're watching our show live, don't be afraid to put in a comment, ask a question, engage people. That's one of the benefits of catching the show when it's taped instead of getting it post with a podcast. As a podcast, you can always ask questions.
Yep. You can always email also, and we can look at them the following week. So ask questions. We love to hear from our audience.
Yep. And I am somewhere. I think I accidentally.
That's your email.
Yeah, it's missing off my ticker.
My ticker is acting weird too, and my email's not up on here either. Well, my email is ashley@solsticeintuitivearts.com. So, but we don't need to put it in the ticker. I just said it. You can find me.
We're going to get in the ticker. Well, I was deleting the old ones. I mean, we're done with Amber, so we delete it because we got a new guest next week that we add. And I think I accidentally got rid of info@kevinrossembry.com.
Well, it's on mine, and so are Amber's. I don't know. StreamYard's a little. Well, all right.
Okay.
Well, it's 7:00. I will see you
when I see you.
See you. I was going to say next week, but it'll be before that. Yeah. Anyway, bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.